And with you also.
And with you also. Welcome, Joanne.
Well, thanks for having me.
You have the floor.
Well, the one thing I'd like to say to this group is really you can be such ambassadors for your congregations and your faith communities just based upon what hospice has to offer, not only from our hospice side, but our palliative care services. And, one thing I was asked is if I could share some real life stories. And I think that's always the best way. So I'm going to kind of read from a letter I received from a family. With that being said, for folks who may not know, we take care of patients at the end of life that have any end stage illness. A lot of people, when they think of hospice, they think of a cancer diagnosis. It actually can be any end stage diagnosis. It could be Alzheimer's, it could be ALS, it could be COPD, it could be Parkinson's, it could be renal. So any end stage illness we're able to treat if the doctor certifies a patient has a life expectancy of 6 months or less. With that being said, a lot of people think, of that cancer patient that's about 85 years old as being the hospice patient. We actually see patients as young as newborn to patients over 100 years old. When hospice is involved, we're able to take a big part of that burden off the patient's family and the patient, because patients that what we hear is they don't want to die alone and they don't want to die in pain. And we are able to bring all the support services to them through an interdisciplinary team, which is made up of a physician, nurses, social workers, bereavement counselors, a volunteer coordinator, and a spiritual care coordinator. So with that being said, we have a lot that we offer to these patients and families. And in addition, when they come on to hospice, no one is turned away regardless of their ability to pay for hospice services at home. We take care of any of the durable medical equipment the family might need, from a bed to an over the bed table, a commode, whatever they need, and any medications related to the terminal illness. So we do the coordination of all that. And they can call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's very unusual. And we follow families of the patient for 13 months after the death of the patient. No other healthcare organization offers that. We offer for our hospice caregivers, individual counseling, newsletters, and support groups that they can participate in at any time during that time. We also offer to the community our grief workshops as well at no charge to the community. And those are typically held in the spring and in the fall. So with that being said, we talked about a story, and I think this one captures it beautifully. So if you will let me, I will read that to you. This recently just came to us. In March of 2020, we lost the eldest sibling in our family after a difficult and courageous 8-year battle with ovarian cancer. From the very first meeting 5 weeks before her passing, a strong, fiercely independent, and faith-filled woman was assured by every hospice person she encountered that she would remain in control and that her wishes would be carried out. That knowledge sustained her and took some enormous responsibility off of her family members. In the weeks that followed, hospice provided an unimaginable amount of support and comfort to her and to our entire family who gathered to be near her. We are a large family. At any given visit, there might have been as many as 5 or 10 family members anxiously awaiting in the other room to get the update after a hospice team member had met with her. Each and every person from hospice took the time to answer all of our questions, soothe our nerves, and provide comfort and guidance to each of us, all while still respecting her privacy, dignity, and independence. We can't begin to express to you how much that meant. I don't know about you, but if it was my time, right? We all want to be in control of our own decisions, or most of us do. And some people don't. Some people are going to rely on their family members to make those decisions for them. But the more we can share with our own families of what our needs and what our wants are, it makes it so much easier. And when hospice becomes involved, sometimes we've been caring for a family member so much we come into that medical model. But when hospice becomes involved, you can go back to being the husband or the daughter or the son or the grandchild, because we're going to take over the care and we're going to help guide and support people through this journey, because it truly is a journey for folks. And we have 2 wonderful cards. And if you would like, we can make arrangements for me to send it to one of you or all of you. I would just need addresses. But we have these Did You Know cards. And they actually have a URL code on the back. And the nice thing is it explains some of the myths and facts about hospice. And I'm not sure if all of you are familiar, but we also have a AIM palliative care program. And that's for folks who aren't ready for hospice or don't have a life expectancy of 6 months or less, but they're going through treatment right now. And they may have a lot of different doctors, or it may not be easy for them to get out to a doctor. Our palliative care team, our nurse practitioners, make visits to the patient's home and help coordinate their medications and their physicians. So that makes life much easier for that patient and family. I see there might be. Okay. So with that being said, I just saw, thank you, Pastor Mike, for putting that up for me, for sending me your address. If everybody did that, that'd be wonderful. If you sent me in the chat your address, if you would like me to send you those cards, because they're an easy way for people to get a good understanding of what hospice is and what we could have to offer. When I read that story to you about that woman, what kind of resonated with you?
Calmness, maybe. Sense of calmness, a sense of thankfulness, I guess, that you were there for that family. The story could have been a whole different if it wasn't that way.
Yes. And you know, we really feel at hospice that folks are coming, you know, whenever we get a bad, you know, a diagnosis, a lot of times people are going to go to their faith leader. They're going to go talk to their funeral director. They're going to go talk to their financial planner or their attorney. So I'm sure you hear from folks very often who may be in a predicament. In fact, years ago, my marketing person said, you know, Dad's dying and nobody wants to talk about it. That should be the next commercial, because it's really true. It's what we hear from patients and families all the time. And I'm sure I see Larry shaking his head a little bit. Yes, maybe Michelle, but people will say, I know I'm dying, but I don't want my wife to know. Or we're talking to the patient and the patient says, I know I could use your services, but I don't want my children to know I'm dying. And typically it's the family trying to protect the patient. When you're that sick and you're that ill, you know, we spend more time talking about what we're going to do, where we're going to go on vacation, you know, researching what hotel are we going to stay at? You know, how long are we going to stay? Where are we going to go to eat? Then what would we want at the end of life? Would we want to be on a ventilator? Where would we prefer to die? What are our wishes? Do we want treatment at all costs, even if it means I might have a little bit more time, but I'm going to be in severe pain? Or do I want it more quality, where I might have a little bit of a shorter time span, but I'm going to be able to kind of wrap things up with my family, maybe have some resolutions. Maybe it's a matter of really saying goodbye to the people I love, whatever is important to that person, and having that time to do that. What what questions might you have for me about hospice or about our palliative program?
I live actually in Otsego County,
Okay,
and I used to be the chaplain at Bassett Medical Center. Helios Care is the primary hospice and palliative provider
right.
for our county, Delaware, and Schoharie. So I guess my question is, how much and to what extent and how are you all coordinating and working with Helios Care and with the hospitals in what is the southern part of this presbytery?
So what I will share with you, our catchment area is all of Oneida County, Herkimer County, and Eastern Madison County. And we're all independent. We're all not-for-profit hospices. So our relationship with Helios would be that hospices may all belong to our state organization, which is the Hospice and Palliative Care Association of New York State. We all offer the same services, but how they're provided from program to program might be a little bit different. Some might offer bereavement groups year round, or some may only do individual counseling. That piece might be a little different from program to program, but the services and the interdisciplinary team should be very, very similar. And as a hospice, we try to, work as collaboratively as we can. If there's a patient that's on the line between two counties, we may be offering to, we might be offering to say, this patient lives right on the line. They're asking to be with our hospice or your hospice for whatever reason. Maybe they had a family member that was on hospice and palliative care that covers Oneida, Herkimer, and Madison counties, but we're right on the line, say with a Central New York hospice or another hospice. We would talk to them first for collaboration.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Was everyone? Yeah, sorry, Mike.
My question would be, I actually have somebody in the hospital right now that they're working with hospice to get him home. What generally is the time frame that I should be telling families to expect from the time that they're told by the physician? You have literally a few days remaining, very elderly gentleman. But what is the standard turnaround time from being able to get the patient from the hospital back home with hospice service?
I would like to say it happens typically in a day or two, Pastor Mike, but sometimes in the particular case, and I don't know who the patient is, maybe you and I can stay on at the end and I can check on things for you. But they also have to make sure the family's ready to take the patient home.
Okay.
That if they need medical equipment, that can be delivered and everything is set up. Or sometimes somebody could be in the hospital and they could need more than for their oxygen might be over the level that you can have at home, and they have to wean the person down before they can come home. So there's a lot of different factors that might go into that.
And hospice would be there for them at the house to make sure everything was set up before the patient got there?
What happens is we're not there before, but we're working with that family. But we are working with the medical equipment company that we work with to make sure they're getting a hospital bed, that the equipment's getting set up at the home. They're teaching the family how to use that.
Okay, awesome.
When the patient arrives at home, our staff is going to be there to do that admission and to get that patient and family comfortable. Yes.
That may answer the question. So I can also follow with the family just to find out if you got these things in place.
But if we
Um,
talk for a minute, I might even be
yeah.
able to clarify a little further for you, for
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm right at I'm eastern Madison County, so it would be
Okay.
just so, and the hospital he's in is Hamilton, so yeah.
Yeah. He's in Hamilton Hospital?
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
community.
Okay, let me check on that for you, as soon as we're done.
Yeah, sure, thank you. The other
What-
thing I was really interested is your grief counseling. I don't know if I'm a jinx, but I've had 11 funerals since I've been to this church in 9 months. I just actually today started a widows lunch support group, but several of them have attended your Greek workshops and said they were phenomenal. Um, do you know who I could contact there to set maybe up one as a community um, grief workshop?
What I would like to do is they actually have a sheet, Mike, and after we're done, there's a little bit of a form. I want to take a little information from you.
Okay.
And we can have somebody contact you.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
So with everybody else in the group, maybe is there anything I've said about hospice today, maybe you didn't know before? Is there something you think you've wondered about or would like to know? Because my whole purpose is to really try to share information with you, because you folks are truly ambassadors for our program and what we do.
Joanne, I'd like to hear you talk a little bit more about the best way to collaborate with hospice. I know there certainly are HIPAA issues that come
Right.
into play. So what's the best way for someone that's in parish ministry to work alongside hospice?
I think for the parish ministry, and when I was referring to the person Michael knows, I wouldn't be able to give him exact information, but I would be saying to my folks, can you check on this and get back to the family? You know, with a date to, you know, when this person might be leaving the hospital, because I can't go into those details. But as far as us working together, if you feel someone's appropriate, I really think the best thing that you possibly could do is tell that person, you know, call hospice, just so we can give them information. It doesn't cost anything for somebody to make that call to hear what we might be able to offer, because, you know, you might have somebody in your faith community that has been going back and forth to the hospital. And you can see they're getting weaker and they're getting tired doing that. Those are the folks that might qualify for hospice. The life expectancy for a hospice patient, the doctor has to certify, and our medical director, that they have a life expectancy of 6 months or less. And I think just sharing that, you know, when they're going through a hard time, there are people that can be there for them, including our hospice. And that's truly what we want to be, because we can share information with them. If they're not appropriate for our hospice program, they might be more appropriate for our AIM program, our advanced illness management program, where they might be still seeking aggressive treatment, or they just can't fathom that they're ready for hospice. A lot of people who go on to our palliative program, at least 10% eventually transfer over to our hospice program.
It's the palliative program is not limited to 6 months or less.
No, just hospice. Yes. Someone who's still seeking aggressive treatment or qualifies for hospice, Betsy, you're absolutely correct. They can be on the program for a year or two sometimes.
I think it's important. I don't, you know, since I came in a little bit late, if you would perhaps say more about what palliative medicine is like, and
Sure.
That is certainly something that we focus on, or, you know,
Yeah,
my friends who are still providing care at Bassett would focus on first?
well, certainly our AIM program stands for Advanced Illness Management, as I said. And it's an outpatient palliative care program where we're providing services to a patient in their own home. So our nurse practitioner is actually going to their own home to see the patient. And really, when we think about that word palliative, it's really to reduce the severity of symptoms relating to an illness or a treatment. And it gives a patient the opportunity to stay in control. Patients who are enrolled in our AIM program keep their medical team that they've had. Our program is really an extra layer of support for them. And our staff collaborate with the primary care physician and specialist to enhance patient quality of care. The staff help patients and families navigate advanced care planning, which I think is huge. I'm sure you can agree, with a MOLST or goals of care or a healthcare proxy. What treatment options do they want? Symptoms of the disease is having on the impact of the patient's quality of life, the side effects as a result of treatment, and reduce frequency of ER visits or hospitalizations. I can tell you on the hospice side, less than 1% of our patients went back to the hospital in 2021. And it's typically less than 2% at any given time. Now, granted, if somebody falls and they break their leg, we're not going to say, oh no, we're not going to treat that. If something needs to be treated, we're going to treat it. But for the most part, we can provide all the care they need right in their own home. And really, who should be referred to the program are individuals who are experiencing symptoms related to that illness and or the treatments they're receiving. And some patients who have been referred to the program have diagnosis of congestive heart failure, we see a lot, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, cancer, end-stage renal disease, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. Anyone can make a referral. So anytime someone thinks someone may be appropriate, they can still see us because, like you said, and I talked about, patients can be still seeking treatment while they are on AIM services, and that the AIM nurse practitioner comes to see them. And it's really for the entire family because the support of our staff provides help to lessen the burden of care by connecting the family and caregivers and patients to other resources in the community. And our staff are able to help troubleshoot any questions or needs. And our nurse practitioners are there to help facilitate serious discussions as the time comes if the patient has to transition to hospice. So that's a little bit more about the AIM program. I hope that's helpful for you.
It is. And if we talk about collaboration, I think one of the things that, again, is really important, as you mentioned, and it's certainly something that some churches do have done, is inviting someone to come in to talk about MOLST and healthcare proxies and encourage those kinds of documents to be completed and when they should be completed.
And if anyone would ever like us to come talk about, the topic of MOLST and advanced directives, or what hospice services could be offered, or palliative care services, so people have a greater understanding. Hospice is one of those things, unless we need that service at that time, we're not as apt to pay attention to it, right? So, if an ad comes on for a snowmobiler and I'm not a snowmobiler and I don't have an interest in that, we get bombarded with so much information that it just kind of goes by us, and we say, or we hear something for a service we don't need and we say, oh, I'm so glad I don't need that, right? Don't we all do that with certain things? We hear it kind of goes in really quick because if we don't need it at that time. And until you've used the services, it's really, truly hard to appreciate everything we have to offer, because I'll just share very quickly my own personal experience. I came to hospice in 1995. And my own dad became a patient soon after. And I had been out at meetings, and I was young and had young kids at the time, and I was trying to do it all and be his primary caregiver. And I was coming back from a meeting in Herkimer, and I live up here in Oneida County in New York Mills, and stopped at my dad's in North Utica at lunchtime because I thought I'd stop, say hello, see how he's doing on my way back to my office. And he kept looking over at his watch. I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "Joanne, don't you have to get back to work? I can't afford for you to lose this job." And he was so concerned, because he said the services were so valuable to him that he could not, he said, he was making a joke of it, but I felt like I was being kicked out. But when I had that experience very early on in my career, I always knew I was going to work for a wonderful organization. I truly believe in the mission of quality, compassion, end of life care, because I truly believe you deserve as much care and love when you're leaving this world as you come into the world with. And it gave me a better appreciation being on the patient family side of it, to be able to work here as well. And it's still a huge privilege 27 years later to do this work. But we could not do it without the work of all of you. And that's why I'm saying, if you can help us spread the word, if you can help us by sharing your email, that I can share those the cards with you that I talked about, because they're easy to pick up. They're easy for someone to read. For people who are on the computer, there's even a UR code where they can just pop it on their phone and get all the information. And I would just appreciate however you can help us spread this word, that you will.
Joanne, do you have those cards in some kind of electronic format that you can email me?
I could, but the reason I thought, I can email them in electronic form, Larry, and I also have these where I can mail them if somebody wants, say 25 of each. You just let me know and I'll be glad to do it.
Well, what I'd like to do is email the electronic version to everyone and tell
Sure.
them if they want more to contact you.
Okay, sounds good.
And I know you and Mike want to connect. Could you
Yes,
put a phone number for Mike to contact you in the chat box? Because
I certainly can, and then you can follow up with me.
Perfect.
And if anybody else has anything after they want to reach me, they'll be able to reach me that way too. I hope this information was helpful to all of you.
Absolutely. It was eye-opening. For one thing, I've always thought of hospice more at, somebody's in the hospital and they're saying you only have a couple days, but understanding that you can provide a service to people 6 months out, I never knew that. And that's an awesome service.
Thank you.
Let's close with a poem by Judith Anderson. Remember us, you who are living. Restore us, renew us, speak for our silence. Continue our work. Bless the breath of life. Sing of the hidden patterns. Weave the web of peace. Joanne, thank you.
Thank you so much. Then thank
Thank
you for
you.
that beautiful poem.
Okay, bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So,
Thank you.
Michelle, Betsy, Mike, hang on for just a bit.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to print this right here so I have it, so I can let me just get this one piece of information and I'll be right off.
Sure. I'm going to stop the recording now.